What's up, guys, and welcome to the updated version of the Final Fantasy XIV Great Controller setup that I previously had. We're going to go through the new changes. I'm returning to the game, and I still find a lot of people are asking questions about how to set up the controller. Even people on PC that are using the controller, which, why would you do that? But, you know. So, basically, by the end of this video, what you'll learn is how to have your non-combat bars. As you see, I have emotes and mounts. I can tap R1 to quickly cycle to other options that I may want to quickly access versus going to this menu, the escape menu. And then when I draw my weapon and I am combat, you'll see I have my main combat bar, and I can tap R1 to go to some cooldowns here. Or my secondary bar, low level, so don't have many on the secondary bar, but you can tap R1 to go to the secondary bar, as well as have a bar for cooldowns, a bar for quick actions. As you can see, I'm playing a tank, so my quick actions, things I will want to access quickly, are going to be, you know, marking things, setting points, clearing points, ready checks, things like that. And you can have a secondary bar, much like that, but I really don't need it. I don't have enough skills on this character yet, so let's get right into it. You're going to first go over to the system configuration. You're going to go down to controller. This is a pretty big deal. You're going to go to controller configuration, and you're going to make one of your buttons draw/sheath weapon. Now by default, this is draw and lock on. You don't want draw and lock on, because it will make you draw your weapon, but then it will not make you sheath your weapon. So when you want to go to the non-combat bars, you can't. So make one of these buttons draw sheath weapon. Then you're going to want to make sure you go over to character configuration. Oh, good God. One of these options here, and turn auto sheath off. You want to make sure that this is off, so that you don't automatically sheath 3 seconds out of combat. Because then you're gonna, when you're going to from one pull to another, if it takes more than 3 seconds, you put your weapon away, and instead of using, let's say, my tomahawk here, I'm gonna do nothing, because there's nothing there on my R2 right D-pad. We don't want that. We want to be able to keep our combat going and be able to use our skills. So we don't want it to auto sheath every 3 seconds. That's kind of lame. So right into the cross hotbar. So you want to enable cross hotbar. Always display the cross hotbar. This is preference. It's always going to display it. You really want it up all the time. You can always make the HUD smaller if it's too big and in the way, or if you don't want it, you can hit L1 on the PlayStation 4 and press the touchpad, and it'll completely remove the UI. Display all this. Hold is probably the best in my opinion. What these things do is it's always going to display the quick action buttons, the double taps. You really don't want that. Personal preference, but you don't want it. Return to the normal cross hotbar after you select one skill off of your quick actions. That's not really that great for me, so. And then position it separately from the hotbar. And then you have an input timer, which, whatever. So enable expanded controls. What this does is, if you look at the display with L2 to R2 and display with R2 to L2, that means if you press L2 first and then R2 second while still holding down L2. So you have them both depressed, but you do L2 first and R2 second, it's going to lead to this bar. If you do R2 first and L2 second, it's going to lead to this bar. Notice my bars are the exact same. And the reason this is because in the heat of combat, I always seem to push down the wrong one first. Because, you know, people are right-handed, so their one hand might be a little faster than the other, or you might just not be thinking correctly because you're in combat. And I go to the wrong bar and use the wrong skill, or use a cooldown that definitely shouldn't have been used then, or I do something dumb like an emote, or you know, anything like that. So I have them to go to the same exact bar. So as you can see, cross hotbar 5 bright. So we're going to hold down R1 and we're going to go to 5, and you can see my R2 as my cooldowns. So that means that anytime I hold both the buttons down, no matter which way I push them, R2 and then hold down L2, or L2 and then hold down R2, it brings up what I call my cooldown bar. Great for big cooldowns or defensive cooldowns or things you don't want on your main bar. Yeah, I still have them on my main bar now, but like I said, I'm a low level character. This is my alt. Getting that road to 70 buff for some crafting characters that I've never leveled. So he doesn't have a lot of skills. You'll have much more skills later on in the game. The enable WXHB to double tap L2 and R2. Okay, so if you enable only 4 buttons, it's going to be triangle, square, X, and circle. If you enable the directional buttons, then when you double tap, you get a whole bar that pops up. And you can push up on the D-pad or triangle. So that's up to you how you want to use it, how many more skills you think you need. I have these go into separate bars. It's going to be 6 left and 6 right. So 6 left, 6 right. You can hold down R1 and go 6 left. And as you can see, I have none on the right. All right. Enable auto hotbar switching when drawing and sheathing in weapons. Yes, this is what we want. So when I have enabled this with the weapon sheathed, you're going to do 7 and 8. Now 7 and 8 is where I do my non-combat bars. Enable when weapon is drawn, yes. And you do 1 and 2. Now, what that is doing is it's saying when your weapon is drawn, you can tap R1 and automatically switch between 1 and 2 instead of switching between all of them. So it limits how many bars you can switch between. So you got your main bar and your secondary bar. You can still hold down R1 and switch manually to the other bars. But we don't want that. We only want 2 main bars. And then we've got all these other bars we can go to on the fly. Really, I've yet to find a class that needs more than that. Now, there have been lots of additions, and they just cleaned up a lot of skills, so I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a class that's going to require any more than that. And this is for PvP. This is your PvP settings. It's pretty much the same stuff, but if you want to send it to another hotbar, say you've got a bar with like your PvP skills, so like maybe 4, you've got your PvP skills on 4. So instead of double tapping or holding down, instead of going to like normal cooldowns, you'll go to your PvP skills. That's what that's for. All right, so another big thing you're going to need to do is sharing. In my opinion, 7 and 8 is all you need. And that's the cross hotbars. And as you see, 7 and 8 actually have a white background with a cutout number versus a white number with no background. That means they're shared between any class, which means if I switch classes, these 2 bars remain the exact same. And they have nothing to do with skills, so changing class is not going to change what any of this can do. You could set it up a different way if you do by chance get stuck on your bar and you're like, oh man, what's going on? So if I go here and I go to tomahawk and I just replace that. So if I use the tomahawk, it automatically draws my weapon. So it puts me to the hotbars that I want. Simple as that, right? So, you know, if you're a healer, you could have like cure there or something like that, but you would need to maybe not share bar 7. I don't know. Or maybe have a couple different skills on 7, like X for this guy and square for heal or something like that. But really, clicking the left joystick is not that big of a problem if you are in combat. Or, you know, if you're like the tank and you're trying to pull and somebody pulls stuff, it's nothing to just pull your weapon out and throw it down. It's pretty easy. I didn't get him. So let's see if there's anything we've missed. I do not include the pet hotbar when cycling. They've really cleaned up the pets this past expansion with the Shadowbringers, so you really don't need it. Set them to guard, put their skills on your bar, that's all you need. Sharing, we went over cross, custom, we went over this. All right, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the controller part of it. Now we're going to go through a little bit through targeting. For those of you who would like to better understand targeting of the game. All right. So click filters, pretty sure it does absolutely nothing. I've messed around with this. I don't know what it does. It still lets you click on things when you don't have it deselected, still lets you cycle through them, still lets you combat cycle through them. So, don't know what the hell that is. We'll move on. Filters. What this is when your weapon is sheathed, you can use the left and right D-pad to target these things. And if there's 50 of everything in the way, it goes from left to right of the screen or from right to left of the screen. When the weapon is drawn, it will only let you use the left and right D-pad to cycle through these things. Really, you don't need all enemies. You don't need aggroing enemies. You don't need duty-specific enemies. The only thing you really need is mainly non-party PCs, which is other players, NPCs and objects. I have NPCs and objects, and what that's going to do is while I have my weapon drawn, I can only use the left and right D-pad, and I'm trying to press left and right D-pad here. I'm only targeting this NPC over here. The reason I do it that way is because if I want to target an enemy, you can do what's called combat cycling. So you hold down R2 and you can hit R1 to go that way, or you can hold down L2 and hit R1, or you can hold down L2 and hit L1. And as you can see, it doesn't matter which R2 or trigger you're holding down, it just matters what bumper you're pressing. So the right bumper, R1, goes to the right, the left bumper, L2, goes to the left, and it cycles between enemies. The D-pad, if you don't like the L2, R2, then you can go back and put all enemies. But what you'll see is that now it's kind of like a soft target. Whereas the combat cycling is a hard target, you can see that the target bar actually changes the name of the creature. And when I do the left, oh, it does as well. That's odd. Well, that's a soft target. So it goes right back to the ladybug, though. So it still is technically soft targeting, which means it's going to switch back to your primary target. That would be good, I guess, for tanks. If you've got a primary target, something gets pulled away, you can use the D-pad, throw a tomahawk at it, or throw, provoke or something like that at it. So if my main target's this guy gets pulled off on the healer, I can just use tomahawk and it goes right back to this guy. So the arrow is your hard target, which is who you actually have selected, you're actually in combat with. And then the circle is going to be a soft target. Now this is great for healers because, as you can see, if you use up and down on the D-pad, it targets the party. And you can see the border behind my name is yellow, and I have a circle around me. So if I was a healer and I used a skill on myself, I can actually show you. Hold on. So if I have this guy targeted and I hit down on the D-pad to target the party and I'm targeting me, I can cast a heal on me, the soft target, and it still targets the main target. Now you can main target your tank, for instance, and then cycle through your party members and heal them as a soft target. So as soon as the skill is done on them, you go back to targeting the tank. And then you come down here and you have enable custom filters. So I'm going to just pop them on right quick and just show you what this is. It's not necessary. It's just further customization you could do. So it just deals with the L2, the left and right on the D-pad. So if I hold down L1 and I press triangle, you can see above my HP there, it's got a triangle and it says all. If I hit square, it says friends, X party, 0 enemies, or circle enemies. So that's going to change what you can target with left and right. So right now, left and right, it's on party. I can't target the ladybug with the left and right on the D-pad. But you really don't need to do that for the party. You can do up and down on the D-pad. It's much easier. Because up and down on the D-pad, once you get on the party window, if you press down, it's going to go to Morticia. If you press down again and there's a person that's another party member, it's going to go down to that person. Or you can press up, and since I'm at the top, it'll go to the bottom of the list. So you know exactly where it's going. If you're pressing left and right on the D-pad to try and target people and heal them, what's going to happen is they're going to move from one way to the other, and now you might not have to, you might miss them because the left and right is positional. So say for instance, let me put this back on all. So I try to target this little ladybug, right? If I press right, it goes to the ground squirrel, right? So now when we'll give the ladybug a second to move here. Okay, so now when I press right, there we go, it goes to this guy. It's positional based on where your target currently is. It has nothing to do with actually cycling through a list. It's positional. So if your party members are moving around and you're trying to heal with left and right on the D-pad, you're messing up because you're going to miss the wrong person. Like you're going to need to heal somebody, so you're going to say, okay, well, if I tap right twice, I'm on him, and then I'm going to heal. Well, somebody moves and you tap right twice and you're on the wrong person, you heal that person, now that guy's dead. Use up and down on the D-pad to target the party. You can, however, use it for targeting alliance members. But all I would do, I would only have alliance members. See what I'm saying? So if you're in a full party with multiple people, or an alliance party, whatever it's called, then you can target alliance members with left and right on the D-pad, and that's it. So see, now I can't target myself with left and right on the D-pad on party, but I could otherwise. So now we'll only target alliance members, because alliance members you can't target with up and down on the D-pad, only your party. An alliance is separate parties, 3 separate parties, so you only target your current party with up and down on the D-pad. So that would be the only reason you would use left and right. So you can change these, it's just further customization, but it's temporary. So if you see, I have party above my HP bar. As soon as I sheath, it defaults to all, and as soon as I unsheath, it defaults to custom. Reason for this, because we have these right here. So as soon as you sheath your weapon, it switches to all. As soon as you draw your weapon, it switches to custom. And then you have to press L1 plus the other thing to go back to these. So we don't really use that. I'm pretty sure that's basically it, guys. Again, left and right on the D-pad, depending on what your settings are, will target various things. As you can see, I can target even my minion here on all, and then if I turn it off, I skip over my minion because I'm only targeting enemies and NPCs. With L2 and R2, either one, and R1, it actually switches your target. It cycles targets instead of soft targets. D-pad does soft targets, R1 and L1 does main targets. Down on the D-pad for party is soft targets when the background is yellow and the icon is a circular one. And if you press X, you create a main target. You can even bring up the menu, the sub commands, and do a focus target. And there's all kinds of different things to do in this game. And this is the focus target icon. So if you've got this icon above somebody, then they're your focus target. That's what that is. But there's no way to, I don't think there's a way to actually target the focus target. It should be. That would be handy. Yep. So you have to use commands, I guess, for that. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you learned something about targeting and controls, and now your game will improve. We'll see you next time.